Hey there, welcome to another episode of Your Concrete Success Podcast. This is your host, Danny Barrera, here with Concrete Marketing Crew and the Concrete Marketing Crew, my beautiful wife, Mady, and our amazing marketing manager here, Andrea. What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Well, we're excited to talk today about several topics, but most importantly, that it costs more to play small.
Wow.
Which you might not think. I know you shared it with our team in our huddle.
Yeah.
Okay, it might be an investment that pushes you. It might cost you something to play more and to learn more and to get more coached, but it might be worth it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look at whatever you desire in your life, in your business, and I this is what we do every single day, help other contractors, businesses that are wanting to rise to the next level. And a lot of times we notice the same thing. It's almost like when they start to experience the growth and the momentum, and they start to feel the friction or that ceiling that they put themselves in, a lot of times they go back into the comfort zone. And that's what we call play small. It's like, hey, it's easier to stay comfortable, but it's going to cost you a lot more. Because if you dare to push through that ceiling that you put yourself, that box that you put yourself in, guess what? There's a next level of abundance in every area of your life. We talk about this like it doesn't just apply in business, it applies to your relationship. I mean, what if you were to play bigger in your marriage, in your relationship? What if you were to play bigger as a father, as a parent? What if you were to play bigger as the leader of your company? What if you were to play bigger making the financial investments that, yes, it's going to cost more in the beginning, it's going to look at it that way, but when you look at the return, it's significantly greater. And this is the one thing where we want to make sure we bring you the information that's going to help you, bring you awareness and empower you, and not persuade you to make some sort of financial commitment. We're actually making a commitment to do more for all of you listening here. So I want to thank each and every one of the listeners here at Your Concrete Success Podcast. I was asking Andrea, it's like, what is this thing doing here? Where's the Concrete Marketing Crew logo?
It's here.
What's the deal?
It's here.
What's going on?
I mean, you might have to stay tuned and find out. I'm not gonna say everything right now.
So is that a play smaller thing? Like, is that
That's
kind
definitely
of
not a play smaller thing.
Okay. So
the
how
exact
uncomfortable is
opposite.
it to just start rolling some things out?
Yeah, it happens.
Okay.
Like, I think I have a couple questions though, because I want to think about that small mindset for contractors. They're in their small-minded business. Is it that they don't want to trust someone else? They don't want to have hires.
Yeah.
They don't want to step forward. Like, what do you hear when someone is that small-minded mentality?
Yeah. All right. So there is one thought of abundance, right? Like, I don't think anyone goes into business saying, hey, I want to get into business so I can work the hardest and work 80 hours, 120 hours a week. I personally don't think that is what it is. We're looking for freedom. We're looking for purpose. We're looking for, hey, this financial abundance. And then as you get in the weeds, you're like, man, I need to hire some people. And then you hire someone and that person doesn't work out. And then those entrepreneurial scars either limit you. And again, the Bible says it. People perish because of the lack of what?
Vision
and understanding.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you're not clear on where you're going. You kind of just one step in front of the other, but you have no idea where you're going. So this is where the planning takes place for you in your business. Where do you want to go? A big pivot that we've made in our agency is like, hey, we're going to go from becoming the best digital marketing agency for our clients to becoming their best growth partner to assist them in every step of the way, because that's what we started noticing. Hey, some clients, they're just crushing it. The ROI, the ROAS, the return on ad spend is ridiculous, 25, 30x our ROAS. And then we're looking at it and they're like, well, like we had one client that he was like at 600, his goal was 650 for the year. Is that right? And then he's like, I made
over $900,000.
over 900,000.
Okay, say it again though, because his goal was low. He exceeded his goal, but that means he had kind of he had limited himself.
And he's still, like this year's goal, he still wants to go small.
He still wants to go smaller. And I was like, no, I
don't
want
think
more
we want to go.
you.
Right, so those are some of those things where you start experiencing your own limitations based on your own experience. And this is the power of surrounding yourself with other individuals that are playing at a higher level. This is something Mady and I do. It's get together in places where we're not even, it doesn't feel like we're even in the game. There's rooms where these entrepreneurs, I mean, they're swimming in 30 million a year businesses, and we're like, what are we doing? Like, are we even in business, you know? Like,
That's a cool table to sit at, though, because
Yeah.
you're finding, okay, Danny Barrera, he has a strong mind of like goal setting and everything, and then you're like, man, I'm around people crazier than me. This is pretty cool.
Well, it's amazing to get yourself in those environments. So this is why we're encouraging our clients, and not just our clients, but I would encourage you, the power of masterminds, the power of getting in proximity with other individuals that are playing at a bigger level than you, that are going after bigger targets than you are. That is the biggest thing. So if you're playing small, it's because you're giving into your ego. And your ego is always wanting to protect you from getting, quote unquote, hurt. But the reality is you're going to have to experience some sort of pain, some sort of uncomfortness in the whole deal. So that applies to you hiring more people. Like, how many contractors, Mady, have you heard? Well, I want to make sure that the quality of the job that we're doing, right?
My standard.
My
Right,
standard.
I'll just do it myself.
I'll just do it myself.
You see, there's answers to that, right? You can either systematize your business to a better offering, or build some sort of training facility inside of your warehouse so that you're training your people, just like we train our people,
Yeah, and
training
it's
on
not
stuff
easy.
like that.
That's not easy.
It's not,
That's hard, and it's scary. You know, it's scary to train other people to do the things that you know that you do well, because there is the inevitable thing that they will mess up at the beginning when they're starting to learn the thing, and you have to go back and teach it and fix it. But it's so beneficial, and there's so much growth in having somebody else train in what you teach them, and then having them grow into that role. It helps you expand, get bigger, keep going. But there is a fear involved. There's 100%. And if you stay small and you're like, no, I can't do it because I can't risk it, then, you stay little.
It
Well,
costs your
yeah.
community, though. I think that's something that's eye-opening to me when we talk about what we do helps feed families. As a marketing agency, as a marketing partner, if you have a vision for your local community and you want to provide more jobs,
Right.
then grow your business and provide a great work experience and training. And I think that could change your local landscape. Instead of just complaining, I wish I could find more people. It's like, train them up and change the look of your community.
And that's the whole thing. You're being very selfish when you're thinking small. You're just looking after yourself. And I want to call you into action. Like, this is a year of being strong and courageous. Like, step outside of that box. And if you don't know where to start having those conversations with individuals that are playing at a bigger level than you are. And be a student for a while. Like, there's a lot of things we do in our business that are just like, dude, we have a sabbatical every 8 weeks for our team members, and we talk about this. Hey, if we want to play at this bigger level and serve our employees, they've got to do their part. So not only are we calling ourselves into action to get uncomfortable, from a financial perspective, if the company's not profitable, the company cannot do what we do. That's the reality. So it's in our best interest to play at a bigger level in profitability, and not only that, but make sure our employees are playing at the bigger level so we can serve our clients at a bigger level. And that is part of the whole thing. It's like the whole ecosystem starts to play better the more that you're invested. And that's something else I've learned. Is like, hey, your employees, your team members will never play bigger than you do. So that's the other thing, is playing smaller. And that's in every way, shape, or form. Like, this Monday, we go through our huddle and like gratitude and Ruby. Mady, what like I'm amazing. Ruby, big shout out to you. What was she talking about today?
Ruby,
this week?
She was talking about, maybe like 2 weeks ago, she started telling me that she wanted to buy a house. She wanted to buy property because she was sick and tired of paying rent for somebody else's property. And this past Monday huddle, she actually found a property and she didn't think about it. She's like, I got it. I just went in there and I applied for it and I got it because it was a great opportunity, and she didn't play small. And now she's going. She went from like thinking about purchasing a property to purchasing a property in like 2 weeks because she had that opportunity and now she's just gonna go for it. And I was so proud of her because she was all another thing. She was like, giving God, like trusting God to provide for her.
Yes.
She was.
And that's playing big.
Which is that's the
There's
biggest
a
thing.
boldness in
That's
her.
playing big.
Yes.
There's a boldness in her.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like, I want you to speak to that,
Yeah.
courage.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a pastor's wife. I come from my parents were pastors at one point in time, but it's living in faith, living in courage and
yeah.
boldness. I mean, everything you're executing, speak to that.
Well, John Maxwell says everything worthwhile is uphill.
Yeah.
And the moment I heard that, I was like, man. But it's so true. And I think if you're willing to take risks, continue to push forward, you're going to have those valley seasons, and God's going to walk you through those valley
Yes.
seasons. But you're going to still be climbing towards more that he has for you. And I think the enemy, it comes to steal, kill, destroy. That's all fear-based.
Yes.
Right.
There's lies,
Yes.
there's cover-ups.
Yes.
When we step into the light and start walking in truth, we start walking in boldness, then it's electric. It makes such an impact in your life. It makes an impact on your team.
Yes.
And then you're actually leading in a way that you feel proud of what you're doing.
Boom.
And one thing that Mady was sharing, there's a little bit of a tempo here. Okay, we talked about Ruby turned the idea into action in a pretty short amount of time. And you've talked about it before, Danny. Sometimes we're playing too slow and small. Talk to us a little bit about the speed of success.
Success loves speed. That's one thing. One of our clients, Colby, he was like, man, I never thought I could accomplish what I accomplished with you guys in this year. But he's stepping into a role where his target is double of what he's on pace or track to do, and he's fully committed to doing it. And he's like, what do I need to do? What needs to be in place, in constant contact with our team, whoever's managing his campaign. And that's the beautiful thing, is like when you set your targets, it's how fast are you taking that first next step? Or are you going to stay in the season where you're like, well, I'm going to wait until April, until we're in the season. Like, dude, if you've been thinking about getting the website done, like, that should have already been in place if you haven't. Otherwise, just get it started right now. Why? Because the development, the process, everything you got to do. The advertising campaigns, the strategies you're going to be testing out, that doesn't start out in the season. By the time you're rolling into the season, you should already have your pixels warmed up. Your audience is warmed up with your messaging. So you see, that's the whole thing in the advertising world. That's the way I look at it. But as far as from a personal perspective, I mean, when God speaks to you and you feel called to do something, if you're not taking action, this is the weirdest thing that happens, because I've navigated through this season, my last year, like the end of last quarter. It's that God gives you curveballs, and for me, it's like God gave me so many curveballs that he was just redirecting me to what he called me to do. And this is one thing, like irreplaceable fathers. I'll play a clip here in a moment here. I'll make sure Christian starts loading it up. I felt the calling for launching into Irreplaceable Father, which is helping divorced men who are navigating through struggle, chaos, have no clue, don't have any clue. And just to give you some reference, that was me. That was me about 8 years ago, give or take. 8 years ago, I found myself sleeping in my car, sleeping from one friend's couch to another, bringing my kids, because I didn't have a place of my own. I was quite literally taking showers on the gyms, and like, dude, I had nothing going for myself. It was a reinvention process. I had just gone through divorce. My ex stayed with the place and all of that. And it was a valley for me. It was a valley. And I found myself that is what the most desperate time of my life. I found myself trying to figure myself out, and it only redirected me to God. Now, fast forward years later, I'm running an agency. We're growing. Things are going amazing. Everything, we're crushing it. And I'm at a worship service, and I'm worshiping, and I felt God just hit me. It's like, hey, I want you to go and do this. Will you do it? And I'm like,
maybe.
I'm coaching the agency owners. Like, dude, I got a solid gig making, a healthy 6 figures just coaching agency owners. I got an agency that's thriving, that we're growing. And I'm like, I'm very comfortable. I'm playing it very safe here. Like
and
it's
a
very
curveball comes at you. You're like, do I want to hit this curveball?
so what ended up happening, like we're moving, and this mid last year, we decided to hire some individuals, and like, man, that was when God spoke to me. It's like, hey, if you don't come and do this, like this is it. This is what you're called to do. And it was interesting how everything just started unveiling. And for myself, it exposed me. It exposed me to my fears, my insecurities, and I'm like, God, like, concrete marketing crew, like this is what I worked so hard to build for the past 7 years. And like, I have an amazing wife. She's helping out and all of that. And it's a test. It was really a test for me to not just see the leadership that I built for the company and everything that's going on, but it's to trust God in the process and saying, you know what, are we really going to do this? So come at the end of last year, I had a production set to record training for agency owners. And one of my friends, who's now a business partner, Jeremy Searles, he told me, hey, we're ready to shoot your master class. And I'm like, you know what? I really feel guilty not doing this. I'm going to have to shift the entire training to devote it for Irreplaceable Father. Like, I don't have the curriculum set in stone. I don't have it. Like, it's purely faith-based. And I really mean it. I mean, we developed this curriculum in a way that is impactful, powerful, but I want you to just get a taste of that, because the way it's come out, I mean, everyone I'm sharing it with, we're rolling some ads right now for the release in February, but I mean, I have guys who are calling me in tears, and they're like, man, what are you doing? Like, I want to be in it. And like, so I roll it out here,
let's
Christian.
see this.
Welcome to the Irreplaceable Father Masterclass. During our time together, you'll be going on a journey. We're going to go through the woods of chaos and confusion and head towards a tower. This tower is where your children are waiting for you. In these modules, we're going to talk about dealing with the chaos, the purge, the preparation, and the liberation that you're seeking as a man. I started so disconnected with myself, with God, not knowing how to get out of the situation. So disconnected from my children, where they didn't even want to see me. For as bad as it may look, for as dark as it may be, that is your starting point. So now, here's your assignment. What does being an irreplaceable father mean to you? So talk about trusting God 100% and like not playing small.
That is not small at all. What an impact it can make on so many lives. And, I think about my kids when we say, if we're slow to obey, it doesn't count. We call it slow obey is no obey. So you taking action and actually stepping forward and doing what is like, hey, this would be big, and doing it, that's a huge deal. And if you didn't do it, then the assignment would go to someone else.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen in so many businesses. It's like, hey, if you don't step up, guess what?
Someone else is going to come in and just start running everything that you've been given to run. That's the reality. But Mady, you've been behind the scenes. Mady has experienced my evolution and transformation. And here's the thing: I could talk all day long about it. I can talk about like men's transformations and all of that. But she met me when I was quite literally, I was snorting cocaine, driving long distance, carrying money, transporting money. So I was a money transporter in big amounts. You're talking about like $500,000 and over. And I found myself in this pit of putting myself in very dumb situations as a man, thinking like, hey, I'm getting my shit together. I'm able to make some money here. I'm a hustler. I got this together. And God took me into just a spin. I mean, Mady, can you talk to that? Because you met me not too long after.
No, not too long after that. I mean, that was a very interesting. It was very scary. I was scared when you would go on those trips. I'd be like, oh, you need to stop this now. like ASAP. And it's interesting how you all of a sudden just like you left all of it and you started from like the ground up. And that's very hard for you because you're a person who has this vision and this and it really took you accepted that path and you started going down that like that straight and narrow path. Like you started going down that correct, you started listening to God and actually
Yes.
going up that hill
Yes.
that Andre was
And
talking
that hill
about.
was very hard for
was,
me,
it's
like
been.
emotionally. Like I would be just laying on the floor
Yeah.
crying, and I'm like, dude, I just have all this to deal
Mm-hmm.
with as a man. And then talk about starting concrete marketing crew. I mean,
Well,
at that
there's
point in time,
pictures. There's pictures
there's
of
pictures,
concrete
right?
marketing crew in
Yeah.
my 100 square foot house that I
Yeah.
lived at that time, and you sitting in a little corner in a teeny tiny little desk. Like that's where we started Concrete Marketing
Dude,
Crew. But we started Concrete Marketing Crew, and I was a teacher for 15 years, and I had the stable income. It wasn't the greatest income because teachers don't make that much money, but
Shout out to teachers.
shout out to teachers. But I was making a stable income. I had the insurance. I had the thing. That was very like small lifestyle for me at that point, but it was secure. And it was a point in time when you were like, let's go, let's do this. And I said, okay, let's do this. And we started Concrete Marketing Crew back then, 2017, and we've been, doing it since. But that was also one of those moments where we could either stay small, and you kept doing your little thing, like little here, and I
Side
do my last
hustles,
side
like
hustle,
it was.
and we had like a couple bucks that were like we had the little, or we were gonna play big, and we decided to play big, and we moved forward, and here we are. And like you've said, I have in my whole life also tried, like been a person who's been afraid to play big in certain roles. And in this past couple, like I said in one of these past episodes, like this is a new year, and there is no small.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that are happening, and a lot of you fulfilling your purpose with Irreplaceable Father calls me as your partner to step up and play big too.
Yeah.
And it's been a very exciting thing to do. You have to say yes.
Let's talk about because this is another thing. It's, last year I tried to do it in my own strength. Like I'm like, man, I'm going to go out. I'm going to hunt for all the talent. I'm going to hunt. Like I got it all figured out, right?
Yeah.
We went through like an entire 3-month span of complete chaos. I mean, out of nowhere. And it's because I tried to do it in my own strength. And I mean, you spoke about trusting God in the process. And one of the key things that the biggest lesson I had is like, hey, this is in God's hands 100%. Like trusting the whole thing. And like the crew that we have at this very moment, you were telling me about, we just have a new account manager, just started out. She's amazing.
awesome.
What
She is.
what was her feedback like?
She's like, pinch me, is this real? She's so great. And I think that one of the things too that is so important is that we always say, we are providing blessings to people, and in turn God will bless us, because that's a mindset that we have in our agency, and she's happy, she's thrilled, she was very excited, she was telling me that yesterday. I feel like I need to pinch myself, is this real, and trusting God to provide in all of these aspects of playing his big role that he has for us. It's hard to just let go of that control, but once you do, everything just starts falling into place like perfectly.
Perfectly. Yeah, and that's the thing is when you obey, there's that obedience, which I'm going to call you into action. Like you might be listening to this message here. Hey, I'm not Christian. I'm not a believer. Well, God is speaking to you here right now. Like there are some things in your life that you need to assess that are just not working, and you need to learn how to surrender those specific areas of your life. Because when you come from a place of surrender, let me tell you, my friend, my brother, like you're not going to do it in your own strength. You're going to be put against the wall this year, the next 12 months, 18 months, 36 months. You're going to realize that some things aren't working because you're allowing your ego to try to do it all. I tried to do it myself. So I want to encourage you with that. And the more that you surrender is beautiful. Like everything else just starts opening up for you, which is what you've been called to do. Now, for you've stepped up to the plate here, marketing manager. I mean, what's been one of the ways that you've stepped up to the plate, getting uncomfortable and all that?
Well, even being here today and actually learning more of new industries, my niche was always church and ministry, and now I'm expanding to contractors and, garages. So learn the willingness to learn is a huge part of going from small to big and continuing growth. Because if it's just, hey, I know this, and so it's comfy, that's going to be fine, but it's not, I don't know. I don't know if you guys like easy. I guess I don't, because I never end up choosing the easy path.
Yeah.
Because, when there's friction, you end up growing. And I think I like growing.
Yes, that's the thing, is once you experience growth, there's some sort of addiction that you develop to it, if that's a good word to put it with it. But there's a high that you get that you constantly seek. And you're like, man, I've come this far. I'm just not going to settle for this. And you will determine what that is. So just an action item here for you. Whatever you've been thinking about, growing your business, hiring new individuals that you need in your company so that you can continue evolving, investing more into advertising. What does that look like? It could look as like, hey, you need a new website, and you need a new website. This is the year. Like, stop playing at the levels that you played 2023, 2022. Things are going to get tighter in the economy. That is a fact. And if you're not putting all your efforts forward, all equally, this is what we have evolved, and stop offering the accelerator standalone. And we started looking at the most successful clients. What are they doing, and what do they have in place, and what are they leveraging? And why are we not offering that to all of our clients all at once? That's one of the main things which we are forcing our clients to level up.
But they're excited about it.
Which they're excited. Everyone has been excited. I'm like, oh my gosh,
That's
we've been
such a
talking about
blessing.
It's
videos.
been such a
Encouraging.
blessing. We were like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And every single person that we have spoken to has been like, yes, I need this. Sign me up right away. It's been amazing. That's also confirmation.
Also a confirmation.
That's also a
It's another
confirmation.
thing about trusting God, us playing bigger, building more accountability internally for our teams. Like, our accountability has only increased from last year. But let's talk about the one last question here that you guys have. What's one last question that you have in this topic? You see, I gave him a curveball right
You
here.
gave us a curveball. Then we have to play big. Okay, Jenny. So I get that we're saying like all this playing big and all that stuff and whatever, whatnot. But like, as a contractor who's listening to this, like, give me an example. Like, I know we've been talking about like, all the things like kind of like spread out. How can you play big? How do they play big in this new year? Like, what do they have to do to play big?
Like, what's
Beautiful.
step one?
I love it.
Step
I
one.
love it. I love it. So you've been given one of the greatest gifts is your ability to have a vision, and that's the whole thing. People perish because of the lack of vision. So that being said, that is the gift. That is almost like the seed that you've been given. It's yours. It's your seed. If you just throw that seed on a soil that you're not watering, what happens?
The bird comes and eats it.
That's right.
It doesn't actually grow anything.
It doesn't grow. So what is the water? What is the water that you got to put in? It's your action. Your action. What is your action? So if you don't have a growth plan in place, if you don't have your next 12 months mapped out and your key targets, your key objectives for growth, that's the starting point. That's the next starting point. Now, if you do, then you got to start getting everything under control, and then looking at, okay, is this year going to require me to invest another 30% on top of what I did last year just to be able to make the same amount? And what does it look like for me to look at my financials? So job costing is a big deal this year. And this is what I'm preaching to our account managers. It's like, stop letting our clients play small. Like, if they're not profitable out of the gates, like, that's our number one job. Let's increase our pricing. Now, if you increase your pricing, but then you have a presence online and a website that looks like you built it yourself.
Can't back it up.
You can't back
Right,
it
yeah.
up. We got a problem. There's a disconnect. So that would be the main starting point.
Love
What
it.
about you?
Yeah, I definitely think having those conversations with everyone on your team. Are you aligned as a team? It's not just you. It might be you have a spouse. It might be that you have some hires that you need to make, but share that vision. Don't just have it and keep it to yourself. Actually cast that vision to your team and make sure that's flowing out of you so that you're all aligned. And I think we do that a lot as Concrete Marketing Crew, and that keeps us connected and really keeps us, there's not people in the dark, there's not people who don't know. we're together. And I think you can do the same thing for your business.
That's right. And if you have not yet visited coatingsmastermind.com, make sure that you check out. It's an event that's coming up next month in Dallas, Texas. If you're looking to level up your business and looking to mastermind with other businesses who are playing on higher level processes, systems, hiring, recruiting, marketing, sales, scaling your concrete coating, flat work, residential home improvement business, make sure that you check out coatingsmastermind.com, and also check out Your Concrete Success podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere else. Where are you posting this?
It really goes everywhere that
Everywhere.
there's podcasts. Yep.
That's right. Make sure you follow us on social media. Leave us your comment. Let us know how we're doing and how we can serve you this year. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.